Welcome to the Be Happy Now show. Flex your soul connection muscle and be your inner guide to fulfillment and purpose. I'm Claudia-Sam. If you know that you're here for a bigger reason, this is the place to be. Together, we ditch the self-care guilt and quit the go with less fear and more trust. Tune in to living life in alignment with your full potential. The Be Happy Now show starts now. Happy New Year. Welcome to the Be Happy Now show. First episode of the year, and you're at my altar. And I'm lighting a candle for us to remind us that light is inside of us. And we do not need to prove our worthiness. We do not need to convince our beliefs into other people. We do not need to blame or shame or judge. And when we remember this inner light, we can find peace and love and calmness. And when you don't find that peace and calmness, it's okay too. It'll always be there. There's no conditions to this light being present for you. And I received a question from Audrey, and I wanted to say hi, Audrey, and thank you for the question. The question is how to feel emotions in a safe way, naturally, without forcing them. And we're specifically talking about what you would call positive emotions, or emotions that are just more enjoyable to have. There are previous episodes of the Be Happy Now show that can help you. For example, for the rather less positive emotions, okay, the lower vibe emotions. There's one episode on 5 steps to feel emotions sanely and safely. And there's another one that was a free training on how to feel emotions, how to handle emotions within less than 15 minutes. So I'm inviting you to go and find these out wherever you're at on a podcast platform. You can actually search. I recommend that you search the Be Happy Now show and then the word emotions, and then you'll find these 2 episodes will show up for you. That was me trying that out on Apple Podcasts. I'm Claudia-Sam. I'm your soul connection coach. And so the conversation today is how to let the more quote unquote positive emotions be there when they're there and not be there when they're not. And part of the conversation I was having with Audrey was how even if you might have grown up in a place in which it wasn't, like in a home in which it wasn't safe to feel emotions fully, whatever they were, whether it was sadness or hurt, or whether it was joy and happiness and pride, it just kind of felt like impossible, like something that you shouldn't do. So now as an adult, there's this game of, okay, but how do I feel them? Should I feel joy now? Should I feel ecstatic now? Should I be in ultimate gratitude right now? And kind of always checking over your shoulder to see whether or not you're doing the right thing, whether or not you're playing the right human game, whether or not you're actually feeling the right emotion. And so let's explore what even this quote unquote positive emotion might be like. We're going to explore also what I'm going to talk about silence, and you'll see what I mean and where the connection is. The quote unquote positive emotions would be anything that doesn't feel uncomfortable, anything that's comfortable. And mind you, sadness might feel comfortable without you consciously knowing it. Sometimes as experienced humans, in other words, adults, there's a crutch that we may have created in feeling safe in chaos, for example. And there might be, and Gay Hendricks talks about this, upper limit symptoms in his book called The Big Leap, and how there might be some habits, some crutches of creating chaos, like a addiction, like an addiction to chaos that then on its own creates sadness or hurt or victimization by rebound of the chaos. And sometimes we don't know that we might be addicted to that kind of feeling, and we might just it might just be part of what keeps happening. Like you might find that in your life things just keep happening to you, or it feels like maybe life keeps throwing curveballs at you. In this case, the invitation might be to go, what makes me available for that? What in my energy and my beliefs, my way of being makes me available for these curveballs to keep being thrown my way? Like, am I addicted to creating a certain kind of cycle of chaos, for example, to name one of the examples in my life? And the anything that would be uncomfortable, anything that would be triggering, that would leave us feeling like nothing's working, like everybody's working against us. It could be an addiction to those quote unquote lower vibe, more negative, less comfortable emotions as well, because anytime there might have been joy or celebration to be had in your past, it may have been frowned upon to acknowledge anything that was actually good. So the second nature might be to go directly to what feels comfortable in the uncomfortable of the lower vibe emotions, like sadness and hurt and guilt. And so usually we want to handle those emotions. And what about those more also uncomfortable emotion? Joy might be an uncomfortable emotion because if you're not used to feeling it, you might be like, what is that? Even with my clients, I like to start calls and end weeks celebrating what worked. What can we acknowledge that worked for you? That was a highlight, even if it was, hey, I noticed that I was stuck in overthinking because the awareness might not have been there before. So that's a win. That's a celebration. And acknowledging that can feel like it's too small or that's a judgment. And hence, it's like if the muscle of feeling the quote unquote good, the positive, the higher vibe emotions was blocked. And so now we don't really know how to do it without forcing it and being like, should I do it now? Should I? It's the new year. Should I feel like a new person right now? Has that happened to you? It's not because it's a new year that anything has to be different, really. It can be an opportunity like a new season, like a solstice or an equinox, a change of season, like your cycle. If you are one with a uterus and a menstrual cycle, and you every 28, 29 days, whatever your cycle period is, you find yourself anew, or even with the moon cycles. So there can be an element of renewal, of change, of intentional shift, of therefore created celebration, acknowledged celebration anytime you want. You decide what that is. It's not because the human made calendar year needs to it, and it's not the only calendar. There are many different calendar. There's the Chinese New Year, there's the Mayan calendar, so we can decide which one we go with and what ultimately that means for us. So if you find yourself forcing an emotion, here's where the link with silence comes in. I just heard this from someone I follow on Insight Timer. I'm going to post, her name is Prema Shuda, and I forget the other part of her name. So I'm going to write it in the comments so that you can find her if you want to. She has a bunch of very short talks on Insight Timer. If you didn't know, I'm also a meditation teacher on Insight Timer. It's a free meditation app, and you can meditate with me at any time over there. Okay, so one of Prema Shuda's conversation was about, she said, in the Bible, she quoted the Bible, she said, it says that at the beginning there was the Word. And actually, she said, at the beginning there was silence. And I felt myself just leaning back when I heard that. I thought, yeah. Before any emotion is felt, acknowledged, experienced, present, before any decision is made, before our eyes are open in the morning, before the alarm rings, before someone knocks on our door, before the request is made, before we raise our hand, before we take a step forward, there is silence. There is space. In that space is often where we can find our awareness. In that space is where we can meet face to face with our true self, with what we want, with where we're at, with what we desire, with what works, with what doesn't work. And that led me to bring this to this conversation on the Be Happy Now show at the altar with my candle. And this is a crystal of magnesium. And I don't know if you can see it properly, but anyway, magnesium, it's cold when you touch it, and it is the crystal of connection. And when we think about our emotional well-being, and if you've been working with me and following me for a while, you know that I work with the tune-in method, which includes presencing who you are on all 5 layers of yourself: the body, the mind, the emotions, the energy, and the soul. Meaning you are one. You are one. You are all one with all of these layers. This comes from an MC Yogi show, the All One sticker. The layer of emotions is where the energy of the 4th layer, emotions is the 3rd layer, where energy flows through to the human self, flows through the body, and then creates up a whirlwind of meaning and associations in the mind, and then it is felt on the 1st layer of the physical body. When we pause, before any action, before any identification, this is what I feel, this is not what I feel, this is what I want, this is not what I want. When we pause and bring silence, let's try it now. If you can be in silence, just tune in and notice how that feels for a moment. Great. Did your mind play games? Did you hear thoughts? Often that's what happens in silence. There is a habit of going, needing to know what to feel, needing to know what to do, figuring out what's next, having clarity, being on top of the game, not letting anything slip. You see what I mean? Do you understand that? Has that occurred for you in your life? So silence is it's almost frowned upon, like in the old days when emotions wasn't a thing, feeling emotions wasn't a thing. Now silence, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to pause and stop. I'm not saying that's your truth, but it might have been at some point in your life. I know it was for me. These emotions, whatever they are, high vibe, low vibe, comfortable, uncomfortable, without presence, therefore, without silence, presence comes with silence. Presence comes with the now moment, the space of a moment. Without that, you don't know what you feel. It almost feels like when a little child pulls and tugs at your shirt, wanting your attention, tugs and tugs and tugs and tugs, but you're doing something else. And you're not presencing them. You might turn around with impatience, with annoyance, with irritability of being tugged at. I don't know. I don't have a child, but I imagine that that could be like that sometimes. Emotions are the same way. And without letting them space to come in and flow through and kind of make themselves at home, we don't know what they are. The emotion of joy can be accessed at any time. If you're asking yourself, should I be feeling XYZ? My invitation for you is that next time that comes for you, that comes through, that is your experience, what if you paused, leaned back, created space, accessed silence, presenced, actually, what is it that I feel? Because what you're feeling isn't bad. You shouldn't have to feel a certain way. There is no obligation of needing to feel a certain way. And if there is, that might be because of all the social media posts of here's the positive, here are all the positive things happened in my life in 2024. I see these reels now, all these reels of here's everything I did in 2024. Here's a glimpse of what my life looked like. Great. Does that bring you joy? And what about the actual truth of being human with those emotions, with the moments that were more challenging, with the moments where you got to celebrate a breakthrough and shifted your awareness and acknowledged what was working for you? What about all of that? So I'm not saying we have to make reels that includes the cry session that you had one morning because you were on cycle day 2 and you had period pains and just wanted nothing to do with the world. Like, I'm not saying you have to show that. I'm saying when we watch other people's reels of that, it makes us think we have to be happy all the time. There's something in the brain that magnetically receives the should. Oh, that is what joy should look like. Oh, that is what success should look like. That is where I should be. Where's the silence between you seeing the real, for example, any opportunity to compare someone else's situation with yours? Where's the silence between the moment you see that, or you acknowledge it, or you hear it, or you experience it, and the moment that you make up your own interpretation and have your own feelings? Where's the space? And it's so subtle. For example, right now, notice the space between your next inhale and your next exhale. So subtle, eh? Now, notice the space between the next exhale and the inhale without forcing it. It's still there. Have you experienced that? That space, and one of my yoga teachers, my Guruji Prakash Dungana of the Shanti Yoga Ashram in Nepal, would say that his Guruji, his teachers, would say that in our human life, and this is like not scientifically proven, and I quite enjoy hearing that the humans receive a certain amount of breaths in a lifetime. That's what they would say. And that by lengthening the space between the inhale and the exhale, not like holding your breath to the point of elevating your blood pressure and causing harm. That's not the point. Okay. Do not do this if you have elevated blood pressure. Okay. And you can be intentional about the length of the space. So therefore, the story goes that the longer your breaths are, since you may from this story have a set amount of breaths allotted to you in a lifetime, according to these yoga, to this tradition, that the longer your breaths, the longer your life. And so it's almost like, okay, the more space we could create, the more space we can create between a reaction and an action, the more space we can create between information that comes in our awareness and the response that we get, the more space we can create between a trigger and an emotions, the more wise and centered we will be. The more in our power and grounded in the essence of who we are will we be. So next time you might ask yourself, should I be feeling this? Should I be happier? Should I force myself to feel something else? This might be an indication that you're comparing yourself. You're saying my state of however I'm feeling now is not enough. It needs to be something else. Something inside of me tells me it needs to be different. Therefore, I'm going to judge the way I'm feeling instead of creating space, arriving in the silence of the now and tuning in. How am I feeling? What's the emotion I have? Followed by, can I let that be okay? Can I let it be okay that I'm actually feeling neutral? I'm actually feeling just okay about the new year. I'm actually feeling quite content. I'm not feeling ecstatic, overexcited, or super joyful. I'm actually maybe feeling a little bit of grief, and I still want to do some processing. You know, you can still revise your year on the first few weeks of January. You know, it's not frowned upon to go back into the last year and tune into any celebrations, what worked, what didn't, what you want to change, if that's your thing. Ultimately, in spaciousness, it could also just be okay to tune into gratitude, or to simply take a deep breath in and a long exhale and choose, and so it was, and so it is. I am in a new year. That's it. There doesn't need to be a big thing, and that can be okay. Thanks for being here. I wish you everything that is good, that is in alignment for you. I wish you that 2025 invites you and allows you to embrace the wholeness that you are. Send me the keyword New Year on either Facebook or Instagram Messenger, and I'd love to know, are you New Year's resolution yay or nay? Are you New Year's resolution yay or nay? And we can continue the conversation privately. Thanks for being here. We'll talk soon. Bye.
You've been listening to the Be Happy Now show with me, Claudia-Sam. Flex your soul connection muscle and be your inner guide to fulfillment and purpose. You are worthy of being you and of connecting to what stops you from living the life you are meant to live. Access more soul connection coaching at claudiasamcoaching.com.